Oh, my goodness. Okay, chapter 28. Here we go. Only Charlie left. "Which room shall it be next?" said Mr. Wonka as he turned away and darted into the elevator. "Come on, hurry up, we must get going. And how many children are left now?" Little Charlie looked up at Grandpa Joe, and Grandpa Joe looked back at little Charlie. "But Mr. Wonka," Grandpa Joe called out after him, there's only Charlie left now." Mr. Wonka swung around and stared at Charlie. There was silence. Charlie stood there holding tightly onto Grandpa Joe's hand. You mean you're the only one left?" Mr. Wonka said, pretending to be surprised. "Why, yes," whispered Charlie. "Yes." Mr. Wonka suddenly exploded with excitement. "But my dear boy," he cried out, "that means you have won!" He rushed out of the elevator and started shaking Charlie's hand so ferociously it nearly came off. "Oh, I do congratulate you," he cried. "I do. I really do. I'm absolutely delighted. It couldn't be better. How wonderful this is. I had a hunch, right from the very beginning that it was going to be you. Well done, Charlie. Well done." "That's terrific. Now the fun's really going to start, but we mustn't dally. There's even less time now than there was before. We have an enormous number of things to do before the day is out. Just think of the arrangements that have to be made and people we have to fetch. But luckily, we have for us the great glass elevator to speed things up. Jump in, my dear Charlie. Jump in. You too, Grandpa Joe, sir. No, after you. That way. Now then, this time I shall choose the button we are going to press." Mr. Wonka's bright, twinkling blue eyes rested for a moment upon Charlie's face. Something crazy's going to happen now, Charlie thought. But he wasn't frightened. He wasn't even nervous. He was just terrifically excited. And so was Grandpa Joe. The old man's face was shining with excitement as he watched every move that Mr. Wonka made. Mr. Wonka was reaching for a button high on the glass ceiling of the elevator. Charlie and Grandpa Joe both craned their necks to read what it said on the little label beside the button. It said, "Up and out." "Up and out," thought Charlie. "What sort of room is that?" Mr. Wonka pressed the button and the glass doors closed. "Hold on," cried Mr. Wonka. Then, wham! The elevator shot straight up like a rocket. "Yippee!" shouted Grandpa Joe. Charlie was clinging to Grandpa Joe's legs, and Mr. Wonka was holding on to a strap from the ceiling, and up they went, up, straight up this time, with no twistings or turnings, and Charlie could hear the whistling of the air outside the elevator went faster and faster. "Yippee!" shouted Grandpa Joe again. "Yippee! Here we go!" "Faster!" cried Mr. Wonka, banging on the wall of the elevator with his hand. "Faster! Faster! If we don't go faster than this, we shall never get through." "Through what?" shouted Grandpa Joe. "What have we got to get through?" "Aha!" cried Mr. Wonka. "You wait and see. I've been longing to press this button for years, but I've never done it until now. I was tempted many times. Oh, yes, I was tempted, but I couldn't bear the thought of making a great big hole in the roof of the factory. Here we go, boys. Up and out." "But you don't mean," shouted Grandpa Joe, "you don't really mean that this elevator—" "Oh, yes, I do," answered Mr. Wonka. "You wait and see. Up and out." But it's made of glass," shouted Grandpa Joe. "It'll break into a million pieces." "I suppose it might," said Mr. Wonka, cheerfully as ever. "But it's pretty thick glass all the same." The elevator rushed on, going up, and up, faster and faster and faster. Then suddenly, crash! And the most tremendous noise of splintering wood and broken tiles came from directly above their heads. And Grandpa Joe shouted, "Help! It's the end! We're done for!" And Mr. Wonka said, "No, we're not. We're through. We're out." Sure enough, the elevator had shot right out through the roof of the factory and was now rising into the sky like a rocket, and sunshine was pouring through the glass roof. And in 5 seconds, they were 1,000 feet up in the sky. "The elevator's gone mad!" shouted Grandpa Joe. "Have no fear, my dear sir," said Mr. Wonka calmly, and he pressed another button. The elevator stopped. It stopped and it hung in midair, hovering like a helicopter, hovering over the factory and over the very town itself, in which lay spread out below them like a picture postcard. Looking down through the glass floor on which he was standing, Charlie could see small, faraway houses and the streets and the snow that lay thickly over everything. It was eerie and frightening feeling to be standing on a clear glass high up in the sky. It kind of made you feel like you weren't standing on anything at all. "Are we all right, Grandpa Joe? How does everything stay up?" "Candy power," said Mr. Wonka. 1,000,000 candy power. "Oh, look," he cried, pointing down. "There go the other children. They're returning home."